But that was what sprung this first crusade. You know kind of the rest of the story with the Second Crusade, Third Crusade. I'm not going to go into those. But here's how this relates now back to math. Well, what happened after the First Crusade? These Venice and the city-states, Pisa and Genoa and Florence, they all became commercial centers, trade centers to fund the Crusades. So war is good business, isn't it? We know that today. War is good business. Ask George Bush, right? Or Cheney. Ask him. He's multi-zillionaire. So war was good business. All these cities up here became fantastically rich and wealthy. And they withdrew into themselves, and they started to compete with each other economically. Each city would establish its own university and compete with other universities. They went back to Greek culture. They wanted to see who could build the biggest dome. Who could build the biggest dome? And it was all funded by the banking system set up to run the Crusades. And that banking system, you probably know, was run by the Knights Templar. They were by warrior monks. And they used to use wooden sticks. So you had wooden sticks that they'd give, and say I owed Stephen money. We'd break a stick with the amount on both sides. He'd have half the stick, I'd have the other half. We'd meet someday, or the sticks would meet, put them together. Oh, this is the stick that Stephen and Bizat had, so he owes so much money. That stick banking lasted until 1834, when England banned it, and they collected all the sticks into the House of Commons, and it caught fire and burned the house. It's the only time the House of Commons has ever burned down, with all those sticks burned down. But here's the point of the story. Two people up here that were educated in these universities that were developing around the year 1100 or so, 1150 I would say, they went to Al-Andalus, Spain. Remember that was a center of Islamic culture? And they learned Arabic, they learned math, they learned algebra. One of them was called Maimonides. And Maimonides came back and brought the zero and the Arabic system back to the Jewish cultures, who were a lot of the bankers. And the reason the Jewish were the bankers was because they were banned from doing anything else. It was illegal to charge interest in the Christian world. So the Jews, since they weren't Christian, could charge the interest, and that's how they became so enmeshed in the banking system. So Maimonides came back and installed this system in with at least his friends with the new system. And the Kabbalah came out of that. 666 for Rome, for Nero, the numbers that you put on, the 666 being demonic. Saddam Hussein's name is 666 in the Kabbalah. So Maimonides did that. Another guy that did it from Italy was named Fibonacci. Fibonacci went to Al-Andalus, got educated. We know him for his famous sequence. He related his sequence to the golden mean, didn't he? Well, he came back with the Arabic numerals and zero, but he was a merchant. His father was a merchant. So he spread this all around the merchant class, the non-Jewish merchant class, the ultra-rich in the Italian city-states. And then it really took off. Florence banned it. Florence banned the Arabic numerals. Florence banned the zero. But the merchants didn't care. There was so much money involved, like college sports. We don't care what we do to the kids. It doesn't matter. So much money involved, we just got to do it. So that's what they did. They just said, forget it. We're going to go with this new Fibonacci system of banking and fund all these crusaders that are going back and they're getting themselves whacked, but we don't care because it's big business and it's big money. Now, that's where I'm going to stop today. But next week, I'm going to challenge you again. In these universities, after all this richness was going on, something happened. Something happened which sparked an intellectual inquiry which led to the Reformation. Right? It wasn't Martin Luther. We were well before that time. We were a good 100 years before him. What was the event that sparked the ideas that led to the Reformation in the West? And it came from Fibonacci's work. So I'll let you think about that. See if you can think of something that come up. The story is fantastic. I'll give you a hint. It's related to these domes that we've been talking about. Remember, each city wanted to build a bigger cathedral. Each city wanted to have the highest. Today, is the Sears Tower higher? They fight over the friggin' antenna, don't they? Whether the Sears Tower is higher than something else, and some guy in Dubai is building one 2,200 feet. It still goes with us today. At that time, it was who could build the biggest, highest dome. And the guy that answered that question is the guy I'm looking for, Jackson, so you can do your research. He's the guy that sparked, and here's the amazing thing. I'll give you two hints. Another hint. He was mentally ill. We're almost certain He was either severely autistic or severely bipolar. We're pretty sure of that. So isn't it interesting? Again, we saw that Hypatia, a woman in the 4th century, started this cultural clash, and then the Reformation was actually sparked by someone that we would consider mentally ill today. So think about who that might be.